do that.
Okay. Jesse, let me know when you're ready.
All right. Think. I think I'm streaming, but I don't know yet. Let me. They changed. YouTube changed the dashboard again, and it's really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Looks we're hot.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay. You gonna bring us in, Jake? Justin.
You got it.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 254, recorded November 14th, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the eve of Pokemon Sun and Shield. Sun and Shield? That's not right. Let's do it again. Gosh darn it. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 254, recorded November 14th, 2019. On tonight's show, we are on the eve of Pokemon Sword and Shield. So we have lots to discuss about that. Early reviews are coming in. Is it good? Is it bad? Are communities toxic? Probably. And we're going to discuss all of it. Plus, we are welcomed by our good friend of our community, Mr. Jacob Rush from Nintendo Nostalgia. Jesse, cue the music!
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Marty here from Nintendo Dads. And no, if you are watching on YouTube, do not adjust your channel. Do not change that station. Yeah, I'm in a different place, and yeah, I don't have glasses. As I told these guys earlier, we have managed here out in the country to earn enough internet by mining it from the internet mines so that I can come to you live from my house and actually podcast from now on. And if it cuts off midstream, I'm just going to bed. But anyway, guys, like I said, we're here, Justin said, we're here on the eve of the first console home version of a mainline Pokemon game in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And woo, what a week this has been in the community. Joining me tonight, all the way from Kansas City, Missouri, he's the one, he's the only, Jesse Waldack. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, except for I'm on the Kansas side, not the Missouri side.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't. I try to avoid Missouri as much as I can. Anyway, today is the day that I now am officially old. I think if I wasn't, I think I've always been old, but now I feel older because the youngest of 3 children is no longer adolescent. Today is her 18th birthday.
Okay, Boomer.
Oh my goodness.
So
well,
happy
that
birthday
is,
to her.
be sure to tell her happy birthday for us.
That's still sinking into I think to my wife, her mom.
Yeah.
So,
was that a little bit bittersweet today?
A little bit, and she's already kind of half moved out of the house into an apartment with her boyfriend. So we'll see how that's gonna go.
You know what that means, don't you? Hot tub time for one of the rooms of the house.
Oh, I was like, where is this going, Marty?
Yeah.
We are 3 minutes in. This cannot be going PG.
One of those bedrooms.
Yeah, we're not. We don't want a repeat of what happened with Megadads and Mixer.
Yes, that's true. Speaking
yes.
of Megadads, one of our Megadads, all the way from the Great White North of Canada, where right now it has to be, because it's here, it's about 9 degrees. It has to be like blood freezingly cold up there now, Mr. Justin Masson.
I am going to say, kudu as the resident Canadian, and it is currently only 7 degrees. What are you guys Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Are you Celsius? What are you? Okay, well, whatever. Canada's the proper metric system and measurements and temperature. So it's 7 degrees here. It's actually quite nice outside. I was wearing sandals earlier today. There's no snow on the ground, and I could probably be barbecuing. But I'll fall into your stereotype Canadian mantra. Oh, I had to get in my dog sleds, and I went to about the Great White North, eh? Got in my igloo and had some maple syrup, eh? Look at me, I'm a moose.
Well, technically you are, since now that people have been photoshopping you since the Moosin thing.
Justin Moosin is now
last week.
canon.
Oh, I like it.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
they have.
Yeah. So you're really feeling your oats tonight, sir.
In what way?
Well, I mean, all of this, right here. This let me
Just
become a stereotype.
yeah, right, sure.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
you
feeling it
gotta
tonight.
have the
That,
foil every once in a while,
all
right?
right. No, I got you. I got you.
Also, I
Uh,
just feel like I just have to get it out of my system because I got Jacob here, and Jacob is always on my side when it talks about amazing games such as Donkey Kong Country, such
Right.
as Ukulele. Like he just
Right.
perked up. I just saw him come. He was like, "Yes." Um, so it's going to be like 90 minutes of us just talking about amazing games, and you,
I'm down.
Marty, won't know what that's like because you've never played any amazing games.
I've played some amazing games. I'm playing ukulele in the Impossible Lair.
I'm
Played
very
some
proud of
today.
you.
Thank you. I'll be talking about that later. But guys, we've got not
And
a lot of news to talk about, but
I'll try not to put you all to sleep when I talk about my game.
that's
Fair.
okay. That's okay. No, listen, people appreciate your perspective on games. But we do have several big items, I think, to talk about this week, including release dates, delays of games that people are anticipating, but also the situation at hand with Pokemon Sword and Shield. So let's dive straight into that news, shall we?
Do it.
And our news is brought to us, as usual, by the good folks over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads. In other words, you are patrons for making this show possible. And whether you're a dollar patron all the way up to the $30 Patreon producer level, we want to say thank you so much to you. We really appreciate you. We are so glad that you are on this journey with us. And we want to invite you, if you're not already, to come on over and get involved in the Discord. Everybody who is a Patreon member under Nintendo Dads, you should be able to get into the Discord, and we want to hear your opinions, and we want to chat with you, and we want you to help build the best Nintendo community on the internet. That's right. I said it. See, we don't have to disable our comments because we're civil and we love each other and we're good.
Wow.
I'm just
Wow.
saying, because some people have had to do that this week.
Gauntlet
Because some
thrown.
people are jerks, and that's not going to happen over at the Nintendo Dads community because we're not going to let it happen. And so you can join into the Discord there for as little as $1 a month. If you're listening and you're looking for a place to talk about the brand new Pokemon game, or you want to talk about how sweaty you're getting with Ring Fit Adventure, or you just want to talk about life in the lobby, you can do that. There are tons of channels over there, and we want to invite you to be a part of that Discord. If you're not already a patron, go on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads, sign up for $1 a month, and come join us in the chat. It's going to be awesome. And guys, guess what? The November monthly mayhem, or the new monthly mayhem game, got revealed a couple weeks ago, and it is Luigi's Mansion 3. And if you're playing that game, even if you're just playing it for fun, if you join in the monthly mayhem, you can win prizes like eShop gift cards from us to you just by playing the game, just by booting it up, right? For the first time, you get a ticket in the raffle just for starting the game and taking a picture of the title screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, before we jump in, and Marty, you've been talking about an amazing community here. I would be remiss, and I want to put it at the top of the show as opposed to the back end, because we know typically near the end, people want to kind of drop off, right? So I want to put this here first and foremost. Speaking of amazing community, amazing support. This last week, Marty, you did something absolutely tremendous for the folks over at Extra Life. So did Nick Metzger. So did Tech Mike. You guys came together for the Extra Life 2019 campaign. And guys, big thank you to every single person that supported that campaign, whether it was $1 that you gave, 20, 100, whatever it was. Man, that was fantastic. And Marty, kudos to you just for, we were able to jump into your stream and watch you at times and just bringing your energy and bringing your support and love for the kids and having your family there. So thank you for that. And Nick, same thing. He got his entire youth group in there and going. So absolutely amazing support as well. So thank you to our community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just want to say, just to kind of go along with that, thanks so much to everybody who tuned in. Thanks to everybody who donated. Thanks to everybody who sent messages.
Uh-oh.
Did we just lose Marty?
In 24 hours.
Marty's roboting. No.
Hey, I've always wanted to be a robot. It's really cool. Actually, for this to happen. But anyway, I want to say again, thanks to everybody. Again, we didn't meet our goal as a team or as individuals, but it was a lot of fun, and we're going to be back for next year, even bigger and better. I've learned some things this year from the timing of the extra live stream. I've also learned that a year does not make any difference in how deadly Jody Masson is in Dr. Mario.
She's a ninja. She is a ninja.
Oh my gosh!
Dr. Mario.
Guys, let me tell you something. She wasn't ready.
No. We had some issues. We did some
kids. Yeah, I like, but see, what you may not have known is that during that stream, during that part of the stream, my son was having to slap me on the arm and be like, "Dad, wake up! Dad, wake up!"
Come on, Dad.
So
come on.
There were a couple of times I fell asleep playing Dr. Mario.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Funny.
I'm not going to say that that's why I lost. Why I lost is because Jody is like a next level Dr. Mario player that, guys, if you've never played her, you don't know. It's nuts. She's like 5 steps ahead.
We're trying to get her and Chelsea Capri, North versus South Alberta Dr. Mario 2019 championship belt, Capri versus Masson title fight is what we're trying to arrange. If you guys want to hear that and see that live, I need you to tweet Mr. Sean Capri as well, and it's going to happen. Showdown. I actually do want to say this also.
I'd like to see a Dr. Mario 99 and see how Jody does.
That'd be crazy, right? I also do want to say this, Marty.
Yes.
I know that you didn't meet your goal. However, I got some information recently that we may have met our team goal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some errors going on with the Extra Life page, but apparently a donation came in, or some donations came in for Nick Metzger's team that was supposed to go to Extra Life, got allocated somewhere else. So they're working with I guess someone to try and get that resolved. But we may have actually met our goal based on Nick's team. They came out of like clutch place and just banged it out of the door. So more to come on that. We're hoping in the next week or two we're going to actually have a final total so that everyone's aware of how much was raised for the Nintendo Dads campaign and whether, again, we have beaten the Mega Dads. Spoiler alert, probably, because we're better.
And can I just throw this out here before I know we need to move on, but if you didn't get to donate during those streams, it doesn't mean that you can't donate. In fact, you can still go over there and donate. If you just go to Extra Life, Google that, and go over and you can either search. If you just search for Nintendo Dads, you can pull up the roster there, and you can donate to Nick, or you can donate to me, or you can just donate to the team, however you want to do it. And that would be awesome. And again, it doesn't matter who it's to. It goes to sick kids, and it helps them, and it helps their families. And as someone who was personally a recipient of that back in the day, awesome stuff. And so I want to thank everybody for watching my stream and helping me through the learning OBS and there was bandwidth issues at the beginning and all kinds of other stuff. And I mean, you guys were awesome. It was great. We had a really good time, and I'm looking forward to next year already.
All right, let's jump in the news though. What are the headlines we got to talk about?
Well, guys, like we said earlier at the start of the show, Pokemon Sword and Shield is let me check my timer here.
6 minutes.
6 minutes. It's going to be out for pretty much everybody, right? America's, I guess, last on the list if you count how that kind of goes across the world.
That's how time zones work, yeah.
Yeah. So it will officially be released at midnight or first thing tomorrow. You could probably go by a 24-hour Walmart and pick it up tonight if you want to, or you can wait tomorrow like I am for the UPS truck to show up at 3-something p.m. and drop it off from Amazon. But as hyped as we are for the release of the very first home console mainline Pokemon game, some people aren't hyped for this. And this week, even just right before the show, Jacob was talking about even his crew over at Nintendo Nostalgia, how divided they are over Pokemon Sword and Shield. And it seems like Sword and Shield is an apt name for this because there are some people who are attacking Pokemon and the Pokemon Company and Nintendo over this, and there are people who are defending Nintendo and the Pokemon Company and Pokemon itself. Guys, have you seen anything about this week? Interacted with anything about this? And I just want to start with this question: are you getting Pokemon Sword and Shield?
I'm getting Sword.
I'm getting Shield.
I already have it preloaded in my system.
I'm not getting it.
Okay.
Is that so Jacob, just to provide some context, is that a kind of like, hey, maybe Christmas, or is that just a kind of like just not a Pokemon fan, not in my wheelhouse kind of thing?
I'm not a Pokemon. I like, again, I run a show about nostalgia, so like I can't say I don't like Pokemon. I have things I like about it, but I do have issues with Pokemon today, and I decided after the last two iterations that I don't want to participate in the next one. I'm not as, I mean, we can get into the details about people being angry about the game. I'm not as mad about certain things, but I think there are other things I think the Pokemon Company could do that I just don't think they're putting their best foot forward.
So let me ask
that's
you
why
this.
I don't want to buy it.
You said after the last two. So where did you begin to sour on Pokemon?
Pokemon is a very weird franchise for me because I came out in this prime of my childhood of '96. I'm 5-6 years old, so I loved it for its the first 3 generations. Then I fell off a little bit, and then I actually have never played Gen 4. And then I came back around like late Gen 5, Black and White era, played X and Y, and then once we got to, it was hard for me to finish X, put it that way. I remember starting it, and then I got really bored with it, and then I came back like, I don't know, a year or two later because I got nostalgic for it again, and they're re-releasing the original Pokemon cards to be current, and so I went on this whole kick where I was buying all the old cards up and building my collection back up. So I got back into it again, but then Sun and Moon came out, and I was going to get it, and then I got really bored with it. I got bored with the formula. I got bored with everything about it. I thought it was very slow. It just didn't excite me. It was not getting me excited. So then I remember just sat on my shelf. I got it for Christmas. And then I got Sun and Ultra Sun. Ryan got that for me for Christmas too. And I didn't even take it out of the wrapping. And then now here we are. Oh, I got Pokemon Let's Go. And you know, that was new and exciting and different, but I still felt bored with it. That's the trend here with Pokemon is I feel very bored with Pokemon. The formula, the way they go about things, and then with the next one being a full-on console game from the get-go, from when they showed it off, because I've given it a fair shake. It's not like I've been like, I'm never playing Pokemon. You know, I've watched pretty much every direct they put out, and I watch it with an open mind, and I think on it. And then I make my decision. And, you know, from the very start, I think Pokemon looks very generic now. For a console game, in my opinion, I expect them to do more. I feel like they're not doing the best job they can. I feel like they're being a bit lazy as a company. I don't know if you've seen it, but I saw a video comparison of like Dragon Quest XI in the new Pokemon game, Sword and Shield, and it looks very empty. It looks very, again, bland, I think is a good word to me. Whereas the same system, Dragon Quest XI, it's the same concept of the way you roam around. It feels the same, and it's full of life. It's full of detail, and I feel like the Pokemon Company has this attitude of, if I slap Pokemon on it, it will be an automatic seller, and I don't have to give it my best efforts. So, with that said, obviously there's other reasons people are really upset about these new games. They don't bother me quite as much, but I do see the reasons why people are mad and why they think they're being, again, lazy. And essentially people think we're getting less of a game now and being charged even more because it's on a Switch from the amount that's being left out of the game, such as with Pokemon and the Pokédex and stuff like that.
Yeah, so let's talk just a minute about the I guess the big elephant in the game, I guess, of what's being left out, and that is what's got people so upset is the national Dex not being available in the game. And I think that we probably have not talked about this on the show as much as other shows probably have. I know MVC has spent a lot of time on it. And I just know that, like, from being a part of their forum on Facebook, being part of the podcast group, every post over the last 2 weeks has been about Pokemon. It's unable to be escaped from. It's and if you're out there and you are kind of like under a rock per se about this game, or you just don't care, let's break this down. Jesse, you can correct me if I'm wrong here and help me out with this, because I'm not, again, I want to preface this by saying that I am not the biggest Pokemon fan in the world. I know enough about it to be dangerous. I know enough about it to be interested in these games, but this is obviously a big deal to some people. The National Dex, Pokedex, is the collected Pokemon from all games up until this point. Is that correct?
Yes, up till, not including Gen 8, I think Melmetal had Dex entry 807-ish.
Okay.
And so Grookey then would be 808.
So so up until now, not counting shinies, which is a whole nother can of worms.
Shinies and Alolan forms don't have new Dex numbers. They're still part of the. So your shiny, your Alolan Muck, your Cantonian Muck, whether it's shiny or not, is still 1 and 3 in the Dex.
It's still a Muck,
right?
No matter what.
Right.
Okay, so not counting
there could
all
be
the
8
variants,
different flavors of it, but it's still a Muck.
Right. So not counting all those variants, we have 807 unique Pokemon. And some of them are in this game. Some of them are in Sword and Shield. But more than half of the Pokemon that already exist are not being brought over to this game. Game Freak says it's...
cut out again.
Give a reason. It's just we're not brought to this game. We have brand new Pokemon.
You cut out again. Can you repeat what you said?
I'm sorry. I was saying that Game Freak says that there's not really a reason given for why they're not bringing them over. It's just we're not bringing them over. We want you to concentrate on the new Pokemon that are part of this game. And there are a lot of new Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I think where the sticking point is for people is that Pokemon that they've had for years that are now in Pokemon Bank or Pokemon Home, as it's about to be called, whenever that launches. Has it launched already?
No, I think it's supposed to be spring.
Yeah.
Okay, so when that launches, that there will actually be Pokemon that people have trained and used for years that they will not be able to import into Sword and Shield in any way. To add fuel to that fire and to add more kindling to that fire, then Masuda, who is the kind of the Pokemon head, goes on to say that the National Dex will never return and that all games in the future will follow this model. And that is the issue that kind of has launched. I kind of, in my mind, I get the Helena Troy was called the face that launched 1,000 ships. This is the issue that launched 1,000 witch hunts, right? Guys, there's been hashtags. The Pokemon, Game Freak failed. Pokemon Company fail. Thank you, Game Freak. Thank you, Pokemon Company. It's been back and forth, and it's like, since I've been on this show, and Justin, you might chime in here because you've been on, you're OG. You and Jesse are OG. I don't know that I have seen an issue come along for a Nintendo published divisive as this issue with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think I can remember one in the last 5 years that has been this way.
Yeah, it's and like it's not just like, hey, I don't like this, and I mean it has consumed a good number of communities on Facebook and Nintendo communities. It's definitely consumed the Pokemon subreddit.
Sure.
It's definitely consumed the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo subreddit, and Twitter it's all over it. And it's kind of seems to go in waves. Each time we get new information, it flares up again, and it kind of like bandwagons and snowballs. And then, like, I think the straw that kind of like broke the camel's back this week was when reviews began to come out, and the reviews have been pretty favorable so far, with IGN scoring at the highest at 9.3 out of 10. Other news outlets have given it somewhere in between 80 and 90, or 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
But
you think GameXplain gave it a light, which is kind of their middle-ish on their scale?
They're probably the lowest. They're probably the lowest I've seen. Currently on YouTube, this Pokemon Sword and Shield review from IGN is sitting at 19,000 likes and 26,000 dislikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, I don't know if you've watched the review, it's actually really good. It's a good review. And I felt like it was pretty fair. Don't you? I mean, Casey did it. She's a huge Pokemon fan, but I felt like it was still pretty fair.
Yeah. This is, and here's my challenge with this entire week. And I think, Jacob, for example, you're a very logical and reasonable person, right? And I think your commentary was like, hey, I've tried, right? We all have hashtag life goals, right?
Yes.
But you're like, hey, I've played it before. I find it's just not pushing where it needed to be right now. I feel like they're kind of being a bit lazy. But what I don't see you doing, Jacob, is standing on your front lawn, screaming into the wind, with a fork, with a pitchfork, and being mad about everything, right?
Right.
And that's unfortunately what has happened here. And I think the question, or I think where you're leaning into this, Marty, is this toxicity. And I'm going to use that word, right? We don't want to use that word like just candidly, like everything's toxic. But this has become a very toxic community, the Pokemon community, to a point that, I was doing some quick research here. The developers are getting death threats for games, for a game. Like, come on. If you do not like the game, if you do not like the decisions that the Pokemon company has made, and that is okay. Like, first and foremost, it's okay to not like something. It's okay not to agree with something.
Sure.
Jacob's doing that. Jacob says, I don't agree with the decisions they've made. But what Jacob's decision here is doing is he says, how am I going to show my disagreement? Is I'm not going to purchase it.
Which is like the only correct solution to this problem.
Yeah.
Anything else, if anyone else is doing anything else, you're wrong.
Yeah, everything else is incorrect. And I don't mean to be rude here, but if you want to have your opinion matter or whatever it is not lighting up the message board for a reviewer,
right?
And assuming that they've been paid off by a company, right? Because that happened. Right? Like, other review sites had to disable their comments because they knew it was going to be a toxic community.
Yeah,
I have been in Discords with some of the other main reviewers in their Discord chat, and their statements are, you say anything toxic, we're banning you. Yeah. You're okay to have a conversation. You're okay to have a point of view. You're okay to disagree, but you are not okay to treat people the way that this, and when I say this, and I'm, first and foremost, I am painting the broadest stroke.
Yeah.
Right? But unfortunately, it only takes a couple in a community to make it look like a horrible thing, right? To make it look really bad. And unfortunately, the people who spun up the Pokemon Sword and Shield thing have made it look really toxic. And it's unfortunate to a game that, honest to God, only now just released publicly, I'm using that quote unquote, in North America 9 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the other thing is that Pokemon is stuck, and I think maybe, Jacob, you might really appreciate this. Pokemon is stuck in this really hard spot. because for over almost 30 years, right? Or is it 30 years now? Pretty close. 30 years, right? There is nostalgia associated with it, right? There is connection, and nostalgia is a powerful thing. Nostalgia is, you can't mess up my Transformers that I grew up in the 80s and think they're amazing. You can't change my Ninja Turtles. Darkwing Duck shouldn't be this way.
I'm wearing nostalgia today.
He-Man, like all like you have these nostalgia things, and Pokemon was massive nostalgia for people who grew up in the 80s and 90s, right?
Right.
And what's happened is that over time it has changed and adjusted. And now what's happening is that change and adjustment is becoming so foreign that it no longer feels like what it originally was, right? The Pokedex, right? I have a relationship. I've raised the same thing, the same Pokemon since red or blue or green or yellow, whatever it was back here, and now I can't use it. Now I get that. You can be upset because you're like, that's literally saying I have to let go of something that I have had for like 30 years and I can't bring into this thing I love. So I can get that kind of like mental shift there. I totally get it. And we can be angry about that. We can be upset about that, but we cannot be toxic. And that's what this community has become.
I think we're a little over 20 years. 96 when it came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Important about that is that like have people who point a long time saying it doesn't change, that there's Pokemon, like, you know, it's the same formula. You go through 7 gyms or the 8 gyms, you get the thing. You go to the 4, they break down. Well, then with Sun and Moon started to change that, and it was Kahuna, whatever. And then you didn't have the Elite Four, and they get to Sword and Shield, and they make drastic changes, and people lose their ever-loving minds. And the question that it kind of becomes is, well, which one do you want? Do you want Pokemon to change, or do you just want to play the same game over and over and over on a myriad of systems throughout the rest of your life? Because I think at the core, and I know, again, I'm going to borrow a phrase here, Justin, painting with very broad strokes, right? Mm-hmm. That what it seems like to a casual person on the outside is that when you complain about the national dex, that's what you're saying. Oh, I can't use my Pokemon I've been using for 20 years to go in and just blow through the game, or whatever. I can't use that Charizard that I picked up in red and now I've been playing with for 25 years. Well, that's because every time you do that, it just makes the game the same game over and over and over again.
Right.
But yet, on the other hand, you're saying, I want new, I want change, I want something different, I want you to surprise us. Well, then guess what? They do. And not only do you get toxic about it, but you leak the whole thing all over the internet. And I mean, like I looked at the leaks partly because I had somebody that sent me all of them in Facebook Messenger without there was no way not to see them. The second reason is because I wanted to know, I'm not that, it's not going to ruin my 2019 if Pokemon gets spoiled for me. But even the stuff they thought this time around, let's even keep the starting evolutions secret and try to surprise people. And so it's kind of like that old case of you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Yeah. And I just thought that some communities were kind of bad or kind of off kilter until all of this happened. And guys, I don't know. It's just I said something a day or so ago on our Discord, and I said, I think I'm just going to log off the internet for a couple of days because I'm sick of it. I'm tired of hearing about it. It doesn't make me a positive person. In fact, it makes me angry.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we have people I don't want to call out people individually, but I'm going to do this because there's a certain person in our community that I want them to not think I'm talking about them when I say all this. I had a conversation on Discord with Cat Janitor, and who's one of our great fans of the show. He was the one who provided Diddy Kong Racing for us if we met that goal, during Extra Life, for me to have to play that. And, he brought some things into perspective that I hadn't thought about on this issue. And, kind of humanized it, I guess, a little bit, because it is, and it's real easy to sit behind the screen and go, all of them are terrible. And all the people who like it are terrible, or all the people who don't like it are terrible. But like, I haven't thought about some of those things. And for somebody who is as big a fan of Pokemon as I am of Mega Man, or you guys are as Donkey Kong, this is a huge issue. And it does seem like there have been corners cut and different things like that. And I think it's just one of the things they said in the chat that we had, and I will totally agree with this, and I'm going to steal it. And I can't remember who said it, if it was Hot Rodimus or Cat Janitor. They said, it's just that after Breath of the Wild, you can't afford to halfway do a game.
Yeah, and I actually kind of want to lean into that, because actually Cat Janitor, of course, is actually in our Twitch chat right now, and he put a great comment in our Twitch chat. I'm going to call it out. He said, "It's not that it doesn't change; it's that it hasn't evolved." Mind a little bit of Pokemon pun, I think there, right?
Ooh, nice.
Okay.
We've been spoiled by Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, and in a gaming climate where open world games are advancing and sophisticated. Pokemon needs to keep up. I agree with you, Jacob. It feels lazy.
Yes.
Part of the problem is
Great summary of that as well.
And part of the problem, probably majority of this problem, I think, is that Pokemon is turning into an annualized series. We Let's Go was only a year ago. Ultra Sun was a year before that. Sun was a year before that. So there is a limited time that they have deadlines, because they've got other stuff going out. They have merch, they have TV shows, etc.
Right.
They have movies. So that's kind of what happens when you're doing something multimedia. And so they are time constraining what goes in, not to defend them, just that's as a developer, that's the mindset that they're going through, is they pretty much have to be cutting corners in order to make the deadlines. And then I'm sure they're already working on whatever is going to be going on next year as well,
right,
at the same time. But I agree that a lot of these, like Loxton, or the Noggin YouTube channel, had a really good video that he put out earlier today with things that he would like to see done with, like, attack animations. And that, a lot of these models are already rigged with separate moving parts. But, right, he showed an example. Here's a Pikachu, and an attack for tail swipe is literally rotate the model 180 degrees and rotate it back. So there's no moving parts, it's just the whole thing is moving around. But the model's already rigged with a head that can move, arms that can move, legs that can move. It doesn't take all that much extra effort to use those extra riggings in the models to do something with it. And even that little bit on a few models here and there would do a lot more to make the game seem more alive, and to at least evolve it in some way. And they're not. And the game still looks like it's a 3DS game in 1080p.
Absolutely, that's right on the money there. That's what my buddy Traven to me, because he really got on the Pokemon Company back when Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came out, and I was teasing him back then about it, because I originally got Let's Go Pikachu, and I started listening to him more. And guys, he was the biggest Pokemon fan I had ever known, and he did not get Let's Go, and he's not getting this, and it's everything we just talked about. But I played a game when Pokken Tournament came out, and I'm not much of a fighter person game, but I saw the graphics and I saw the animations and the way that those Pokemon moved in that fighting. You guys remember Pokken Tournament?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It looked awesome, and this was on the Wii U. Like, this looked beautiful. It looked fantastic, and I'm thinking to myself, this is what mainline Pokemon should look like. Like, why are they not doing this amount of detail? Now, granted, they're still doing 3DS games, but this is a home console game now, and I think for me, that's what I want to see. I want to see it migrate to having live, to being like, whoa, this is what I imagined in my head back when I got Red on my Game Boy Pocket back in the late 90s. That's what I want to see. That's what's going to get me to come back into the series more, and filling up that open world experience. I do think I think they've dug themselves a hole. I'm not as mad about the Pokédex as people are. I think that it might have been a mistake way back when to be like, hey, let's keep including all the old Pokemon. I would have been more of a fan of you just have your new sets of Pokemon and you just run with that, and then maybe you battle between versions.
Yeah,
or
like Black and White dabbled with that a little bit. I think that was the first generation. It was Gen 5 to not have any old Pokemon in the core game, but once you beat the game,
they came
then older Pokemon came in. You were able to import them at that point from Gen 4 Pokemon or Gen 3 if you had the DS Lite or the DS Fat, that you could put in your Gen 3 carts and import them in that way. So it still had a national dex. It was inaccessible until you beat the game.
Right.
But at this point now they're doing a half job.
I think the other thing that, just as Jacob, you're talking about, it kind of got me thinking. And I'm going to preface this by saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, none of us have played this game at all.
Correct.
Right? No one played this at a preview event.
Yeah, I'm just going based on what I've seen in Nintendo Directs and what I've heard on a few of the reviews that I've read.
Hundo P, right? Hundo P. So we will have our actual review and coverage and thoughts on it, extra time with it next week, right? But for right now, I got to think about it, Jacob, when you said it, and I think that I don't think that there's any way that they could have succeeded in Sword and Shield, and here's why. The expectation mountain was too high to ever fully climb. And what I mean by that is that, to your point, this is the first time it's back on the main console, right?
Yeah.
That gap is too big, and we all said after with Pokemon Pikachu and Eevee, well, that's okay because next year we're getting our mainline Pokemon. We're getting our big one. We're getting our home console one, right? Yep. And then the imagination goes to the point of, like, Cat Janitor and to you, well, Breath of the Wild was like this, and Mario Odyssey was like this, and it's all going to just be this, right? I think the consciousness of the community created an expectation that was too big to ever actually tackle and to ever actually come to fruition. Maybe in 2 or 3 years from now, the Pokemon Company will be able to meet that expectation, understanding the scalableness of moving from a handheld up to now being a home console, understanding the power behind them, understanding that kind of world that they're building, moving in some more of these new contemporary game designs, such as Breath of the Wild, right? That can come into the game more successfully.
I kind of half agree with you with what you said. I think
that's good enough for me. I win. Good night, folks. It's been episode 254. Bye-bye.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years. If on this game, if they did nothing else, then maybe it would be what everyone wants it. But, if they're going to put out the next thing next year anyway, they're going to have to start at some ground zero and build from there.
Well, you guys know they're already working on Pokemon Trebuchet. So, for next year, we called that a long time ago.
We did.
But to talk to that point, I want to say this. That Mario and Zelda already had practice being in, kind of stepping up to where Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Zelda had at least Twilight Princess.
Mario was closer to the original source material than Zelda. I mean, Breath of the Wild was a total departure, but you've got, like, at least there were open world type adventures, open world-ish type adventures ahead of this. Pokemon has always been, whether you want to call it open world or not, it's always been very, I can't think of the word I'm wanting to use here. I don't want to say on a track because it isn't point A to point B because you can backtrack and you can go back to other areas. But I just want to say, like, compared to, like, the leap from Mario Galaxy to Mario Odyssey, which kind of felt natural,
Yeah.
Going from Sun and Moon to this kind of Pokemon, and at the level that people expected it to, Pokemon up until now has been a very claustrophobic world. You have seen what they've wanted you to see. You have gone where they've wanted you to go, and really, I think that every one of us set ourselves up for this kind of disappointment or whatever when we kind of bought into that first image, that fake fan art image that came out where like the trainer's standing by the bicycle in front of the sunset with all the trees and the mountains in the background, and we're like, next gen Pokemon, this is what it's going to look like. Kind of to what Justin was saying, this is what it's going to be, or even like Jacob was saying, like, this is how they're going to fight. This is how they're going to move, Really, if we're honest, let's get down to brass tacks. A lot of people who are disappointed just want Xenoblade Chronicles Pokemon.
Or Breath of the Wild Pokemon. Yeah.
But I mean, like they want that huge, sprawling, gigantic world with the huge monsters, because I've seen so much about Pokemon scale and all that stuff. Like how Wailord looks like a pool float and not like a giant Pokemon, and all this stuff. So there's so many. It's been so hard this week to like, I think the task right now for anybody who's on the fence about the game is wading through all of the toxic criticism to get to the stuff that is really wrong about the game. Right? Yeah. That would be for a lot of people would be a legitimate, okay, I'm not going to buy this because blank. Not because I'm, is the game broken? Does it have things that don't work? You get what I'm saying? Like, everything else is all fandom negativity, and it's hard to separate that from,
logic.
Technically, at the middle of it is 9-year-old Johnny going to have fun with the game if mom and dad buy it for him for Christmas, I guess is my. So, and you know what? I think it's going to be interesting, and I know we've spent a ton of time on this, and we could do a whole show on it, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what the NPD sales numbers are this time next month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think I'll wrap up our final thoughts. We'll move on to our next topic.
So speaking of toxic communities, next topic will be, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. If you are on the fence, you don't know whether and I think to Marty's point, we will have our reviews and impressions next week after we have been playing it. I think each of us, and I will say this, every single one of the Nintendo dads, I think, is getting a copy of it. We did not get early access from Nintendo. That's okay. Not a problem. But we're going to be experiencing just like you guys are at the same time. We didn't get leaked copies or anything like that either. So wait for our feedback next week. And we have very different levels of spectrum. You've got someone like Jesse who's been playing it lots and has lots of history in it. And then you have me who's super casual and doesn't even know any of their names. So there's kind of this spectrum in between. So, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. If you're not in a hurry to pick it up and you want to value our opinion or that's value to you, we will have more next week.
I guess my last final thoughts on it too is that I think ultimately, I said this earlier, I think the Pokemon Company is just caught off guard. They said, I think Go Nintendo reported last week that like the morale at Pokemon Company is very low. Like people are kind of depressed, and I can understand that. But I think it boils down to, as I said this earlier, I think they've gotten used to the fact that you can slap the name Pokemon and it auto sells and is auto praised. Whereas I just think this is growing pains. I don't think this is the end of Pokemon. I think that I do think give it the next iteration, the next true iteration, you're going to see major improvements. So it's just, you're going to have to, sometimes you go through some rough years like Nintendo did with the Wii U. Now look at them with the Switch. So
yeah, exactly. Jesse, what's our next topic? What's our next topic about toxicity?
Okay. We have a release date for Shovel Knight Kings of Cards.
Yeah, finally.
Nice.
After 2 years of waiting, I'm not going to rail on this. Like, I'm just excited it's finally coming out. But it's I'm afraid that it's too little, too late. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I think it's too little, too late. I again, and I've said it from the beginning. I don't give a rip about a Shovel Knight fighting game. I don't think there's anybody who really does. I don't care how cool it looks or whatever. I'm never gonna play it. Might try it just for the sake of saying I tried it. But other than that, King of Cards is a star here. This also releases with the gold Shovel Knight amiibo that has been promised for a long time, as well as the King of Cards amiibo, all of which I have subsequently canceled and don't give a rip about either because it took 2 years for them to get on my shelf.
I'm still getting the amiibo.
Recently I even canceled. I had pre-orders for Simon Belmont and Incineroar, and I just canceled those as well because I've just decided I'm out. I'm out of the amiibo game.
That's fair.
There's really,
I still want
besides
Joker.
Smash, there's nothing to justify amiibo's existence anymore. Justin, you played Shovel Knight, right?
I played on the 3DS. Yeah.
You've not. You ever played like the Spectre Knight DLC or the Plague Knight?
Yes, I did. Like when the patches came out, I downloaded them and like played a round or two or whatever in them or where I could. But like it was a game like when Shovel Knight came out and I played through it the first time. I really enjoyed it. Finished it. I was like, awesome. That's cool. I'm done with it. Right? Like I could just I kind of felt like story was done. It did its job. I'm gonna put it down and walk away. And then and now we've got Spectre Knight. Now we've got this. Now we've got that. And I'm like, okay, I could, right? But I don't find it that compelling. Like, it's not really drawing me back into it. I'm more excited about the new game, Shovel Knight Dig or whatever it is. Like, that interests me. I want to see them use Shovel Knight in different not different franchises. He's in every other franchise. But I want to see him in different, Yooka-Laylee is a great example. I want to see him used in different genres. Try something different with him, right? So, I don't know. I'm not really upset about this whole Shovel Knight thing. And I also think that, listen, you paid for it when you backed it a long time ago, right? You got the original. They met their stretch goals. They are fulfilling their stretch goals, just taking them a long time. Listen, that's just the way, if you buy something on Kickstarter or you fund something on Kickstarter, you have to realize that that's the kind of the growing pains of it. I think it's a bugger that hey, they announced it 2 years ago and only are now getting to it. That's a little bit of putting the cart before the horse, but in the end, people are going to purchase it. It's going to make money. But it's unfortunate that it's probably disenfranchised a fan, right? So, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the Ninja game that they've been working on. I want to see them do something different.
Cyber Ninja?
Something like that.
Now, here's a question. I don't know if they're the developer or just the publisher.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're just the publisher of it, but I'm super interested in that game, and we've not seen anything about it since the initial review.
Yeah, I want to think I heard it was at PAX or something, and then
we've been waiting on that for two. There's been a ton of indies on Nintendo that have shown up. Right now, I could play. There was a real one I really fell in love with during one of the directs called Inmost. That is out right now on Apple Arcade, and I refuse to play it on Apple Arcade simply because I want that experience on Nintendo, but they've not even talked about a release date yet.
Inmost was actually really interesting because Gary and I saw that at PAX, EGX in Birmingham back in September of 2018, and it was there with Chucklefish, and it at that point was not yet announced for a console. And I remember Gary and I saying they were like, this would be awesome on the Switch. And they're like, yeah, they'd like to get it there, but they don't have any plans quite yet. So for it to a year later be kind of announced to come into the Switch, I think that's great as well.
Yeah, it is on the Nintendo website as a 2019 release, which, if it's still true, it's got 6 weeks
Clock's
to go.
ticking. I just wonder if something changed in there and
for?
It got locked down to an Apple Arcade exclusive
Could be.
For a while, like a timed release.
Yeah. I mean,
Tangle Tower was out on that beforehand.
Cat
Shantae
Quest
was
2.
out on that beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a ton of indies that came out at
Shantae's,
the initial.
The new Shantae still isn't out on the Switch.
Yeah.
It was interesting, right? I was watching Xbox's XO Heart Kissy Face I Love You 2019 whatever that is today, and
Cross
Like, there was
circle?
a game in there that I was like, it's coming from Raw Fury, and it was like a twin stick shooter game, and I was like, yeah, that'll come to the Switch. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
you have that right now for 3 months or whatever the announcement window is on that, but that'll be on the Switch.
Yeah.
So, what else do you got for us there in the news items there, Mr. Marte, or sorry, Mr. Jesse?
Sorry, I didn't know who you were going to there, but
I don't know who I was going to either.
November 29th, which is Black Friday, that is coming up. 4 Five Nights at Freddy's games release on Nintendo Switch that day. Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these are going to come with a hefty Switch tax as well, clocking in at $7.99 each. Where some of these are like $1.99 or $2.99 on iOS and Android right now. There is no remaster. There's nothing. It is the exact same game that is on mobile, except now it's on Switch, and I think it's actually on other consoles as well on that date or around that date.
Jacob, you seemed excited about this when he said Five Nights at Freddy's. You excited? You pumped?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because horror is not my forte, guys. I hate horror. I don't like it. I mean, Luigi's Mansion can scare me on a wrong night. Like I don't do that. I definitely don't do gore. But there's just something about this game and me having grown up going to Chuck E. Cheese with my buddy back in the day. I don't know. There's something about it. I really have been intrigued. And I've seen like the fan base about it. And the last time I got into a big cult fan base, I ended up making it one of my most favorite games of all time, and that was Undertale. So I'm excited to give this a shot and to see what it's all about. So yeah, I will definitely purchase it and give it a go.
Yeah. For price comparison against the Steam, Steam has the first game at $4.99 and the other three at $7.99. So I don't know exactly what the prices on the Switch will be, but it sounds like they might be pretty similar. Just iOS.
I thought I had seen $7.99 for all of them.
That's possible, but if that's the case, it's only $3 more.
Have any of you guys played them before?
My son really likes these games.
They just scare the bejeebus out of me just even looking at them. So hard pass.
Yeah,
pass.
I don't do scary games.
I'm sure they'll terrify me now.
Yeah, so
just like the Undertale lore and all the theories about it, I was into all the theories videos about Five Nights. So I'm a fan of that, but I have no interest in playing them for myself.
Jesse, just to kind of fact check what we have been talking about here before somebody does it for us, the Five Nights at Freddy's is up on Nintendo.com in the game section, and it is $7.99. So $7.99 for a 220 megabyte game.
Wow.
The size doesn't have anything to do with it.
I looked the other day and it wasn't added. They must have just added it recently.
Yeah, I just Googled it and so I wanted to just bring that up there.
Yep. Okay, so $3 more for all four games, $3 more than Steam for the same. So
let's talk a couple more release dates here. Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection, which I know some of our listeners are super excited about, was announced right before the show. That has been delayed until February 25th of next year. And before you think that's a really big delay, it was originally scheduled to come out middle of January. So team citing that they want to work to make sure that the game is perfect or the collection is perfect before they release it. Also, a game that we kind of had a, season for, but now we actually have a month date for. That is Minecraft Dungeons is now being slated for a April 2020 release. No firm date on that given, just April 2020. So that'll hit 1 month after Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal. If you're keeping score there, which that will not hit on the Switch on March 20th like the other systems. But I do believe Minecraft Dungeons is on every system April 2020 for if you're interested in that. And it looks to be like a Diablo-esque inspired Minecraft game, which looks really fun. Should be a lot of fun, especially if there's local multiplayer. My son and I will definitely dig into that. Here's a topic I want us to talk about tonight that I think we could have some fun with. The second Sonic the Hedgehog trailer came out this week.
Oh, nah.
And we got our first look at the redesigned CGI model for Sonic in the movie, as well as some new footage of Dr. Robotnik, which I love the fact that they're calling him Dr. Robotnik because Eggman is such a stupid name. I hate that. He's always going to be Dr. Robotnik to me. Jacob, you, as soon as I said this, you were like, oh, yeah. So I want to hear your thoughts here. What did you think about the new Sonic? I mean, I feel like probably you were like the majority of us in the very beginning, and you hated that original design. Most universally, it was mostly hated. But what about this new one? What do you think?
Oh man, I think it's spot on. I think it's what we all imagined as gamers who've played Sonic and who've seen him. Like, that is a good transition to the big screen, to where he looks realistic and yet not too over the top. And man, they showed those side-by-side images of the original sketch of what they had and the one they're going with. And man, he looks so scary. I mean, that original design would give you nightmares. Seriously.
Terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's just kind of baffling. It's like, why didn't I can't believe that they thought that first one was a good idea. It's like Ninja Turtles, like the Michael Bay ones. They didn't, I feel like they overdid it. They didn't nail it right. And now they're doing it just right. Like, this is a great adaptation. It makes it look just so much more appealing, and it's going to be more appealing to kids. Like, seriously, you want to get kids involved. You want to get the name and IP of Sonic built back up. I think he is much more kid friendly than the last one. He doesn't look dumb. He looks really cool, and I love that. He represents the Sonic that I think everyone knows. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel here. And that's where I think movies screw up, is when they try to just, we're just going to redo all this art and the way they've always looked and make them our own unique thing. No, just give us what Sonic was. So yeah, I think it looks great. I'll be seeing it. I'm really excited about it.
Why ruin 28 years of success? You know, that
yeah.
Your value may vary, but you know what I mean.
Don't get me wrong. I still think the original Sonic games are crap. I like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. That I have some nostalgia for that, but the original ones I don't think are good. But I think this movie looks good. It'll be better than the games.
Wow.
I don't remember his name.
That is a hot take if I've ever heard one. Original Sonic games are crap, and one of the most reviled Sonic games and ports of all time, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, is your favorite Sonic game.
Jacob and I are spirit animals.
We are.
This is a whole nother level here, bud.
That's the only thing that made me ever like Sonic, was that game.
I don't remember the guy's name, but the art director from Sonic Mania was brought on to be the art director of the movie.
Yeah, he was the one who was behind it, and Tyson Hesse, I believe, is his name. I believe I'm saying that right because it's Hesse, so it may be Hesse. He was brought on he was actually behind the redesign. And y'all, look, if that is not a commercial for Follow Your Dreams, what is it? What is? The dude made he got to make basically in the last 20 years.
Yeah, you broke up again. I think you were saying that the guy started off making a fan game, then turned into making a real game, and now he's making part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. Awesome. Justin, are you going to see Sonic? And what did you think about this?
I don't know if I'll see it. So first and foremost, much like Jacob, I hate all things Sonic. I think it's a horrible franchise that should probably be drug out to the street and shot.
Oh my!
But I appreciate that some people actually genuinely care for it. This hatred is fueled from a deep seeding generational console wars of the 90s where if you were a Sega kid, I'll spit on you. And that's why Zach and I don't get along some days. So here's my genuine thoughts of it. I think they did a great job in redoing the modeling. I thought it was really well done. I think it changed the tone of the trailers and the movies. This is kind of one of those funny things. The internet bucked, right? The internet got angry, the internet screamed, and something changed. So if we set the worst precedents in the world, is that what causes the right for us to scream at Pokemon to give me back the decks? Have we enabled a monster that we shouldn't have? Find out on episode 255 of Nintendo Dads. I don't know for sure, but I'm happy they've changed it. And you're right, now people will probably go see the movie, which is great. But I wonder, have we set a really not a good precedent? It's if you're a parent, it's the same thing, right? The moment you give in once, you will give in again. Right? We all know that. And now has the child of the internet screamed at mommy and daddy enough that we're giving in and they're getting what they want.
So what you're saying is this is the equivalent of giving in when the toddler is at the table and refusing to eat their green beans.
Yes. This is exactly it.
I mean, is it okay if it works out for the better? I mean, 'cause I would say the outcry was worth it.
And that's a little bit of the argument. It is probably worth it. And when your kid's screaming at you and you give them the iPad and it shuts them up, that's probably worth the lack of headache, right? Yeah. And they're quiet and they're good and everyone's happy for a little bit. But
in the long run,
you're teaching a bad lesson.
Is it going to happen again?
Right.
And maybe you're like Justin. Your analogy is falling flat. Leave it alone. I'm not 100% sure. But what I am saying is that that's a hard thing. I think the new trailer's good. I think it's engaging. I found it funny. My
point is this, Justin, to circle back to our big topic this week of Pokemon. It was as soon as that trailer hit, people were saying, well, they listened to us about Sonic. Look how good that turned out. And so now let's complain even more about Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But my question on that is to go back to one of the things you called out when we originally talked about Pokemon in this episode is I wonder if the design team for the original Sonic design received death threats over that.
Probably.
Well, I mean, they probably did, but wasn't reported if they did. I guess what I'm saying is that's not how you change things. Death threats are not how you change things. Voice your opinion. Don't buy the game. Like you said, don't go see the movie in this case. Just be real honest with you. This will probably be we have different categories in our house of movies, and we have a category of movies that we call renters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys have those.
What do you do with that one? Let me take a guess. Do you
drive to your corner Blockbuster?
Rent them?
He rents a car and he goes to a drive-in.
Yeah, you rent a car. Thank you, Jacob. Yes, you rent a car to go get them.
Right. You go to Redbox. You wait till the movie comes out at Redbox and you pay $1 for it instead of paying, an arm, a leg, your firstborn child, and half your blood in your body to go see it in the theater. If it was between this and Detective Pikachu, I'm going to see Detective Pikachu. Mainly because of the love for the source material.
I call this I'll wait for it to be on Netflix.
Different category. It's I'm paying that monthly subscription. I'm not paying anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In my case, I'm going to see it in the theater, and I was planning on seeing it in the theater anyway, but for a completely different reason.
Did the reason change?
After the reasons changed. Not seeing the new models I am legitimately looking forward to this movie. With the old model, I just wanted to see how much of a dumpster fire it was going to be.
Honestly, I thought it was in the last trailer that they opened, with a very heavy focus on Sonic's in our world, right? And he's CGI. Look at this hedgehog or whatever interacting with real life people, and then here's some Dr. Robotnik and robots. It was a very heavy in this trailer. The video game callbacks were very heavy. the ring that he went through to come to Earth, the fact that he was definitely in Green Hill Zone at the beginning of the trailer.
Yeah.
Even the music, the focus on combat and the conflict with Robotnik and the robots and all kinds of different things like that. Very much a different tone to this trailer. And always a plus side, they didn't use Gangsta's Paradise.
Right.
Although, sick beats. Sick beats.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I won't lie. I
Can you
actually
insert
like
some
the Gangster's
Paradise right here, Jesse, and we not get copyright?
Probably not.
Could you impose?
How about Amish Paradise by
Weird
Al?
How about Weird Al's Gangster Paradise? Amish Paradise. That's exactly it. Yeah. And
I actually did like that from the first trailer. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
It was a little throwback to the 90s. It made sense to me.
Darn right.
Gangster.
I got you. Well, guys, that has been our news for this week. We're going to talk very briefly about a couple of events coming up, including one for this very podcast.
I'm sorry. I was looking at
Just
something
hit the
else.
button, Jesse.
Which
Just hit
button?
the button.
Which button?
Any button.
Event.
Just hit the button.
Just hit one.
What job?
There
Man?
it
You have a
is.
soundboard. That's your job.
Yeah. Well, you had me
It's
looking.
been so long
You had
since
me
we've done
looking
it,
for
though.
Weird Al music. I was looking for if I could find something, and then
In all
your
fairness,
fault,
that
Nancy.
is a priority. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you. A couple of things we want to highlight. Pokemon Go events this week, beginning November 19th through the 26th. It's Super Effective Week. Pokemon that might be strong partners in battle against Team Go will appear more often than the wild in raid and field research. Also, Shiny Tentacool will start spawning with 2x Stardust from trainer battles and more potions and revives from Pokestops. From November 26th through December 17th, Terrakion charges into 5-star raids, and Friend Fest is November 27th through December 2nd. You can encounter family-themed Pokemon such as Nidoran male, Nidoran female, their evolutions, and more in the wild, with half Stardust trade costs, 2 special trades per day, and attack boost when you raid with your friends. And that's for you if you're still playing Pokemon Go or you're jumping back into it like Justin is, and he's looking for friends. But you found your friends, so that was
I
good.
found my 3 friends. Thank you, 3 friends.
Awesome.
All part
Also
of our Discord
coming up-
community. You know who you are. You know who you are.
Also coming up November 15th, which will be tonight when you hear this podcast, or today when you hear this podcast, we are beginning a brand new podcast show with our Patreon community. It is going to be called The Dinner Table, and this falls under the umbrella of Nintendo Dads. It is open to any and all members of our Patreon community. If you guys remember back in the olden days of Nintendo Dads, we used to do Google Hangouts once a month, where we would get together and just talk and hang out and play around before the show. That's where the dinner table is coming from. And so this brand new show is going to be hosted by Tim Off, who is the newest member of the Nintendo Dads crew. Everyone is welcome to join. You can come on and talk about, there's going to be like one game, the hot big game that everyone is playing, probably Pokemon or probably Luigi's Mansion, considering timing for this first episode. You can talk about a game that you're playing that you want to show some love for. And there may be an additional hot topic or two that we don't get to talk about on the main show that we carry over to the dinner table. And so this will be available first for Patreon subscribers, and then it will be available for everyone else as an audio download in the same feed as the podcast. It will just be called Dinner Table 1, Dinner Table 2, different things like that. And so if you guys want to be a part of that, you need to hit up Tim over on the Discord. His name is NeoPrime33, or you can hit him up on Twitter. It's the same thing. And you can find out how to be a part of the dinner table. It is a show that is shaped by you. It is an event that is shaped by you, the fans. And we are so thankful that he's going to start that over there. I'm looking forward to the show. I think it's going to be a really good thing. Really cool way to let the community talk back and be a part of the podcast. themselves. And
Yeah, and I want to kind of just sit in that pocket there for just a little bit of a quick second. That is something that, as we've kind of, our team has expanded, and because of the amazing support that we have of our community, and whether that's support through Patreon or following us on Twitter and Facebook, subscribing to us on YouTube, funding us through Twitch, has allowed for us to kind of expand our small empire. And in 2019 and into 2020, we're going to be testing new shows, new concepts for shows. Our hosting team here has gotten quite large, and ideally we'd like to start breaking off this group into smaller working groups where they have their own designated shows that they're going to be connecting with and they're going to be running. And Tim has raised his hand and has brought the dinner table to us, and we'll bring that through every single month. And so we're excited for him. We think it's a fantastic opportunity for Nintendo Dads. We think it's a great opportunity for our community to continue to connect with us as well in a different fashion. So you're going to see lots more of kind of like almost a schedule, right? So, hey, on Thursday nights, we're going to have the Nintendo Dads main podcast. Friday, you can expect to get the dinner table. Maybe on Wednesday, it's a community stream. Maybe on Thursday or maybe on Tuesday, there's some show that Gary and I are throwing together. So we're going to start diversifying some of our cast and our members with new content, which I hopefully will be getting out to you guys in the next couple months as we progressively grow and change. And this is feedback that we've received from you guys, and we think it's a valuable part of our growth and our model as we continue to go forward as well.
And speaking of feedback, that's a great trigger there to push us into this next little bit of news. We are going to be doing our annual or semi-annual survey of podcast listeners here over the next few weeks. And so you need to watch Twitter and all our other social medias about that, because we are going to be giving away a prize to one person who helps fill out the survey. Basically, everyone who fills out the survey will be entered into a drawing to win a $50 eShop card. And basically what you're doing with this very brief survey, 10 or so questions, is helping us make the show better. All right, so we want all the feedback we can get, and you will see details about how to be a part of that survey in the coming days over on our social media and in our Discord as well. In fact, Patreon people, you will get first access to that survey, just so that we want you to know we love you and we care about you and we're thankful for you. And so you'll get first access to that, and then it will go live for other people as well. So guys, let's talk a little bit about what it is Nintendo Dad's tradition that our guest gets to talk about what they have been playing first. So Jacob Rush, man, what have you been playing lately?
Lately I have been playing Spyro. I got this for my birthday, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I've been playing the very first game. I had a friend way back in elementary school that had a PlayStation. I remember watching him, and I may have ran around the field on his, but I've never really played Spyro. So it's fun diving into that. All my buddies like, oh, you'll love it. It's a 3D platformer, just what you love. So so far it's good. I'm still kind of getting used to it, but I'm enjoying it. I just beat Luigi's Mansion 3 at the start of the week. I worked really hard to finish that up. That's probably the first time I've actually cranked through a game like that and 100%ed it, got all the gems and boost and stuff. But that game was great. That is the best game in the series. I couldn't believe just how much charm and animation they did for all the cutscenes. I've never seen Nintendo do that so much and so often. It really was, I think, surprising to me, and I really, really loved what they did. I hope to not only see more of Luigi's Mansion like that, I hope they take it in more of their other games like that too. That was, guys, with that opening cutscene to Luigi's Mansion, I thought it was a movie. It looked like this is exactly what I could see on the big screen whenever that Mario movie gets here. I could see it looking just like this, and that game was fantastic. I really, really loved it. I can't wait to see what they do more for that. And
I'm excited to see what their DLC is.
Oh yeah,
because there is commentary that they are going to do a DLC for it. I just want to know what. Do you know what I mean? And that was not. As far as I'm concerned, I have not seen anything that's officially announced for it yet.
That'll be
other than the fact that they are doing DLC.
That'll be
that was
cool.
part when it was listed in the eShop. That was part of the part and parcel of it.
I thought that they said that it was going to be Scream Park stuff.
Is it like if it should be more multi games? I don't know.
It's just multiplayer.
Okay. Boo. But,
Which is, I mean, it's like okay, but
right. It's not that awesome.
it'd be great if there were like hidden floors, right?
Yeah.
So since you're already
The
talking about
13th
this,
and a half floor.
I just want to throw this in here because I've been playing it, but I haven't been playing it very much. I'm on the 10th floor. I'm on the Egyptian floor.
Okay.
I still have not beaten this game. I've not gotten to put the time into it, but like part of me too, like I can't go through it very fast. Like I'm savoring it because I love the Luigi's Mansion series.
Yeah.
And so like when I'm playing it, I spend a lot of time trying to suck up everything.
Yes.
And check every room for every little nook and cranny and every little secret. But man, Jacob, you were so right. This is like, if you have like this and Astral Chain are my Nintendo Switch game of the year contenders.
Those are good games, both of them.
And like, I feel like Luigi's Mansion is probably, because of the release date timing, it may be getting a little overlooked because of Pokemon. But I just personally, I feel like they should have brought it out like halfway through October to give it a tail there in spooky season. But I'm loving this game. It's so good. And I'll beat it probably this weekend, but I'm just savoring it right now. What else you been playing, bud?
Did we lose Jacob?
I think we did. Interesting.
Hopefully he'll come
frozen.
back soon. Well, I hope he's not frozen and requires an ambulance to show up at his house, just like The Stretcher, which is a video game that I've been playing.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. Came out. Shadow dropped last week. Shadow dropped on Friday, and I love me some Overcooked. I love some kind of like couch co-op crazy madness, and that is exactly what happened with this game. So it was great to be able to join into that. My wife and I played a ton of fun. Marty, did you play it at all? Oh, hey, look at that, Jacob.
Yeah,
You're
he's
back. Fantastic.
Yeah, that
since
was
we're
weird.
already
Sorry.
in that, let me go ahead and answer that. Yes, I did pick up The Stretchers on Saturday after I woke up from Extra Life, and my son and I played about an hour of it that afternoon. And can I just tell you that like that's the most fun I've had with a video game in a long time.
Yeah.
Like I just want to say, whoever thought this concept up and whoever got this going, kudos and huge thanks to you, because we sat in this room and just laughed our heads off everything, like the way the people were flopping around and the ambulance, like you going off ramps and like totally unexpected. I love games like this that just drop out of nowhere and they're just a joy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the game makes no sense. It's the most ridiculous concept for a game ever, but it works so well.
Yeah, so if you're looking for like a couch co-op kind of crazy fun game, The Stretcher is definitely for you to play. Also, you only play with the Joy-Cons. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And you know what else is really good about this, Justin, too, is like there's no life bar. There's no anything. So like there's a level where you have to stretcher some people around a sprinkler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the sprinkler is spraying at different intervals. And if you get hit by the sprinkler, you just lose 10 points.
Yeah.
Off the final score. And like you drop the guy and then you have to go pick him up again and do that. But like
that sounds unpleasant for the guy.
Like that same level, we were throwing people who, like, the concept of the game is everyone's dizzy, which they've got the dizzies, And so you have to go pick them up and take them to the dehumidifier or something like that. And we were throwing people down slides and launching them off trampolines and slamming them in the back of ambulances.
So I will be remiss if I did not say the following, because we turned the game on, started playing it, and my wife was like, "So are you going to talk about this game on the show?" I said, "Well, yes, I am." She goes, "I have some concerns that I would like you to address." And I was like, "Whoa, let's
Better write this down."
that. Right? So everyone get your pen and paper out. Here are the concerns.
No, you just needed to write it down.
I needed to, yeah. So that's why I said I have to remember it now, because when I go to bed, she's going to say, "Did you say my concerns?" I'm going to say, "Yes, I did." And it's on the podcast, and you can listen to them. First, my wife, anyone who follows me on Twitter, is a lovely ginger, lovely red hair, right? Beautiful, fire red hair. They do not have an option to be a redhead. So any time where you cannot be seen as a character represented appropriately, she gets upset. And redheads, gingers do not get represented very often in anything. Apple, I'm looking at you and your emojis. You're still not there yet. You can be a sassy woman, but you're not quite there yet. All right. So you need to get the redhead thing done. We need to fix that. Right. So there's problem number one. All right. Problem number two, and I don't know if you noticed this, but she was like super focused on like inclusion and diversity. If you go to the first time that you go to the Dizzy factory or whatever to undizify your folks, the doctors are there. They are all male doctors.
Oh.
There is not one woman doctor. And so she was up in her own tizzy as opposed to being dizzy. But other than that, it was good fun. So
Hey, they did put sumo wrestlers in the game though.
I know. And then she's like, "So now they're making fun of fat people?" I was like, "Oh geez now.
It's funny.
I like to go back to a simpler time where we could do things like that, and I'll just stop right there.
Yeah, right.
Just like.
But no, it's a lot of fun. I
Simple
love
times like Mike Tyson's
the-
Punch Out.
the talking, like the talking back and forth that goes on during a game. Like, no, turn around, I got to pull out the stretcher. All right, now duck down. Now we got to move over here, and it's just it's a lot of fun. And I found that like if you have played Overcooked, here I will say this: like if you've played Overcooked and Overcooked has been stressful for you or has caused stress because it can. Like Overcooked is stressful. I did not find this as nearly as stressful as Overcooked. It was really a lot of fun to play. Real tight controls. Of course, like you said, there are some, I don't guess I'll call them diversity options, but there's like multiple ways that you can make your character look, right? But she's
one
right.
of them is not a redhead.
There's no ginger, no. And I can see where that would be a problem, but otherwise, really fun game. It's $20, so. I don't know how long the game is, but it can't be too terribly long.
No, I can't imagine.
It's like 1.7 gigs, I think is what it takes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun to drive the ambulance around and like go crashing through walls and stuff like the Kool-Aid Man. Hey, there's Jacob. He's back. Hey, so let's get back to you, man. You were talking about Luigi's Mansion, and then
Oh yeah.
I interrupted and you dropped, and
It's okay. I did ask, were you like me and you swept up every inch of sand around that pyramid in that?
Yes.
Yeah, I did the same
yeah,
thing.
I'm inside the pyramid now trying to get out.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I was like I was mowing grass. I was going up and down over and over.
One thing I do want to say about Luigi's Mansion, though, from 2 to 3 is I have found that combat in Luigi's Mansion 3 is really super easy. Did anybody else feel that way?
Well, especially with the slam, right?
Yeah, the slam kind of...
The slam kind of OPs a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it does. But I will say I died a lot too. Like at first I got pretty, it was pretty easy. Nothing could touch me. But as I got deeper into the game, like, and especially once you get to the final fight, Jesse, like, or Marty, it's pretty difficult. I mean, I had to rely on some golden bones, to be honest. So
Okay.
Yeah. The game definitely ramps itself up.
yeah,
Like
right,
I have
that
not
lesson.
died yet. So
I became thankful that they had that slam effect in there for how difficult some parts got, in my opinion.
Okay. So it's a typical Nintendo game in that they save all the difficulty for like the last 3 stages.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
It's like, here we go, here we go, here we go. Now let's shoot the moon.
Yep, basically.
Okay. So it's new Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. And then I got I've been playing Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. I played a ton of that. I've done everything pretty much. I stopped right before my birthday because I was getting Luigi's Mansion. I was trying to beat it before Luigi's Mansion. And I raged quit. I beat Capital B, and then I did not make it on the way out because you have a special Metroid, the place is going to blow kind of thing. But even if you lose on your way out, you have to start over. And it was really frustrating because I held on to beat that final fight. I held on with just no lives or extra bees, and I did it. And
how many bees did you have when you went into the Impossible Lair?
Oh, I have all 48.
48.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I've got 14, and I was thinking I was really doing well.
Take a swing at the champ.
Dude, I have all 48, and I have to try very hard to get into the fights before, at least got to have at least 15 bees going into that final fight, I think, at least in my opinion. So,
on a level of Cuphead difficulty, have you played Cuphead?
Yeah.
Okay, so the final fight there with Capital B, on a scale of 1 to Cuphead, where does that fall?
So if Cuphead's 10, I'd say maybe a 6. Again, I mean, it's just like Donkey Kong Country. So it's like once you do something over and over again, you start to figure out the pattern.
That's not fair. Jacob, that's not fair. That means Marty's not going to be good at it instantly.
That's true. I've actually named him to stop playing.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Someone who has 100% at all 3 Donkey Kong countries on the Super Nintendo.
Who paid you? Who paid you to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody paid me. They're fantastic games.
They are fantastic. Just
Donkey Kong 64. And
Diddy Kong Racing apparently, which is a whole other story, which is better than Mario Kart. We'll end that there.
Oh my. It's getting sacrilegious, getting deep. Jesse, what have you been playing?
The game that I've been playing most is Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution.
Oh, nice. Ryan would be happy.
How many subtitles can you put into that? Yeah. The game came out mid to late August, and I originally passed on it because I don't remember what I was playing at the time. But I decided, my son and I have been talking Yu-Gi-Oh!, talking about various shows, and he's been playing the mobile game lately. So I'm like, yeah, I've been thinking about buying the Switch game. And then 5 minutes later, I said, okay, I'm weak. I bought it. So the game covers all 6 Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows, including I don't think the latest one even came to North America at all. So each of the 6 series has a set of story arc duels that mimic what happened in the show. And you're able to build your own deck with the cards you earn, in the game, or you can use a pre-made story deck. And I'm grateful at that because I'm lousy at deck building. So the fact, and at least with the first series, even though most of the games you're playing is Yugi, but the decks tweak themselves a little bit as every single time. So I don't think you ever play with the same deck every time. So each story does feel different. And I got that, but lately the game has really frustrated me. I've gotten to, I think, the 5th to the last duel in the first series. I am at a stuck point. I think I've hammered that one for 3 hours, have not been able to beat it yet. So, wanting a change of pace, I started the second series, which was GX, which doesn't add any new functionality, but just puts more focus on Fusion Summon. And if you've never seen Yu-Gi-Oh or never played the game, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Just ultimately, there's multiple ways to summon monsters, and starting with the third one, which was 5Ds, they every show adds a new way to summon. So by the end of it, there are multiple different ways to summon your best monsters, and they all have different rules in how they work. But so in the middle of GX, I think I'm like less than 10 duels in. I'm already stuck there. I'm like, I don't want to start a third series and be stuck on 2 duels. So, but with Pokemon coming or now out for an hour, I'll probably drop that and play Pokemon. Or I might go back to this, or I might after Pokemon I might go finally play Dragon Quest that I bought and never touched yet. But it brought back a lot of nostalgia that I had for the show when I watched it a lot when it was new. I was going to say when I was a kid, but I wasn't a kid.
I was.
Right. Yeah, I was 26, I think.
I think I was in like 3rd grade or something.
Yeah, but and I remember like the 5Ds and Zexal I really didn't like much, but the newest one, which I don't think it was ever aired in North America, is called Vrains. I'm still watching that with the Japanese version with English subtitles. I'm watching that on Verve, and I think I've got like 30 or 40 or 50 episodes left. I stopped watching it for like a year. I came back to it. I'm like, I'm a year behind now. So I'm still going through that, but so that's what I've been playing.
Nice. Okay. Looks like Marty might have dropped off the call, so I'm going to just continue through. So I was playing the Stretchers, as we mentioned earlier. The other game I've been playing is a game called Sparklight. And Sparklight just hit the Nintendo Switch eShop today. It is by Red Blue Games and Merger Games. We got early access to it, and this game was shown at a Indies Nindies kind of a preview event, one of the directs back in, I think it was September. But it is a roguelike, procedurally generated, right? We're starting to throw words together that feel familiar. 16-bit game that pays homage to like Legend of Zelda and A Link to the Past. It's a very cool art style and game. It's a ton of fun.
I don't know if I like those things together.
Yeah, and if you don't like those things, you may not.
We're talking Crypt of the Necrodancer now.
It feels a little
without the rhythm.
Right. No, it's definitely not in the Zelda franchise, but you can kind of see that isometric viewpoint that's very familiar from something like Link's Awakening. You can kind of see the pixel work that makes it look 3-dimensional and pops out very nicely. It's got that one more run addictiveness quality to it. And you have to go in and kind of boost out your levels and challenge, and you find materials within the world that helps you to kind of craft content. I kind of put it best this way. Take Dead Cells, Moonlighter, and Link to the Past and throw it in a blender, and you kind of get this game, Sparklight. But it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it if you like those games. It's maybe one that, we've been inundated. It has kind of been since like middle of September, just with so many games every single month, right? Or every single week, that this may be one to throw on your like wish list, and when it comes out in sale, maybe pick it up. But I would definitely recommend it. I would say if you are picking it up now, one of the things I did discover, and that the developer was very frank about, even in the embargo documents that we received, is there was a fair bit of bugs already still actively in it. Some that actually required me to restart the game and restart my level. I only experienced really one that was that bad, but there are some spots that you're like, oh, feels like they need to put a little bit of patch out to just fix a couple of these little things. But they're very aware of the bugs. Like, again, the embargo document had the list on it, so they are working on it. I would have thought the patch came out today. It did not, but hopefully very soon. There is a video of a Let's Play of Sparklight that will be back on our channel. I had to remove it because it found out I had VO from another episode that was on there, so I need to fix that. But if you want to check out that Let's Play, feel free to hop back in and check it out. So we're very excited for that. All right, folks, let's move on to our next component of it. We're going to move on to
Community Spotlight.
Community Spotlight. Yes. And Marty, you're back. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. We're just moving on to Community Spotlight.
Awesome.
And we have got an email here now. I want to figure out the best way to go around this because the email that was sent to us was awesome, and we appreciate our amazing fans for sending to us. There was a little bit of messaging in this that we, as parents, need to support and figure out a way to do this. So I'm going to give you the crutch of maybe the question, Jesse.
Well, I put the email in the show notes, but I didn't include the author's name.
Okay, perfect. So that may help.
When you read, when the email is read, you'll understand why we didn't include this.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know what, Jesse? Just in fear of maybe us leaking something, I want to just kind of walk around this question a little bit more because I would hate for us to accidentally kind of give a clue based on maybe the reading.
Definitely.
Here's essentially the question that was proposed to us, and maybe Jacob, you're able to give us some insight. This person currently has a Nintendo Switch, and they have a individual Switch Online account. However, potentially around Christmas time, a Nintendo Switch, Santa maybe bringing an extra Nintendo Switch to this household, which is fantastic. And the question essentially is, how do I share my content between my OG Switch and my Switch Lite to ensure that it's enabling us to be able to do that? Jesse, that's kind of how you read this question as well, yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now, Marty, this is something you faced with the Nintendo Switch Lite as it came into your household. So maybe you can give us some insight to how this would potentially work.
So, I saw this question come in on email earlier this week, and I thought I can tee up and hit this one hopefully out of the park for this listener. So, essentially, what is they if a new Switch system does come into the house as part of the family plan, how does content sharing work? So basically, how it works is that one person needs to, I guess, dad or mom, or whoever is the head of the household, their account needs to be the one that purchases the games. All right. From there, that Nintendo Switch account needs to be on every system that comes into the house. So for me, I have my OG Switch, which is over here, which is now what I call home base, right? It's got all my games on it. It's got my original account on it. It's got everything I've ever purchased or been given as a download code for review or whatever. It also has a 500 gigabyte or a 400 gigabyte micro SD card in it for space, right? For all of this stuff. And so now Switch Lite, and I will put my account on it, and I will download the games that I want. And that is the secondary Switch. Now, both of those are tied to my Nintendo Online account. Both of those are tied, because they have the same Nintendo Online account. It shows all my purchases and all that re-downloadable on the secondary Switch. The only rub is this. The secondary Switch must make a very brief handshake with the internet to be sure that that game can be played. In other words, the same thing that you've been doing with Nintendo Switch Online NES and SNES happens for every game in your collection that is on the secondary Switch. The problem with that is that means that a game that is on the first Switch and the secondary Switch can't be played by both of those at the same time. The instance is asked elsewhere about this of what happens if I buy a multiplayer game, like let's just say Killer Queen Black.
Actually,
right?
before you go there, I have a question. So you own the game on your master system. You have an account on your kid's system. must they play it on your account, or can they still play it on their accounts after you phoned
That's a
home once?
Great question. They must play it on my account.
That's what I thought. So that's
what
another
that
rub.
means is that your children, if you go this method, will not be able to have their own accounts on their own Switches. They will have to use the original account, which, if they're playing online, could potentially cause, win-loss records and things to go all kinds of haywire and stuff like that. Also of note in this is that game saves, if they're played on the first system, the home base system, and then you want to swap to the secondary, you have to manually download your cloud saves to get like here's a great example. Home base Switch, I get to floor 10 on Luigi's Mansion. Switch Lite, I'm on floor 9, right? So now I have to go into, if I want to play on my Lite and I want to get to where I was on my home base Switch, I have to go in and manually begin the backup download to get that data onto the Switch. Now you can transfer actual save files between systems lickety split, but this is for stuff that's over the cloud saves, right? So again,
not all games support cloud saves. Like Splatoon
right,
won't, Pokemon won't.
Splatoon doesn't. Yeah. The other situation that was asked about was like, say if a game like Killer Queen Black, could one copy allow all 4 people to play a multiplayer match together? No. Even if you're home, even if you're on different consoles and all connected to the internet, no. It would only be playable by one console at a time. Is that lame? Yes. But has Nintendo made it where you can somewhat share games in their own Nintendo-esque way?
Yeah. So in a way, it's similar.
Possible.
So it's similar, like if everything was cartridge based. I own one cartridge, only one person at a time can play it.
Yes.
So, and you cannot play multiplayer with one cartridge. If you want to play 4-player game, you have to buy 4 copies.
That's right. The absolute best documentation that I have found of this online, period, is a post on the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast forums from Brian Altano of IGN, who talks very in depth about how to set up your primary and secondary Switch. And it works just like it's supposed to if you set it up the way he tells you to, which isn't all that hard. But understand that your child can have, if you're considering this, your child or your spouse, they can have their own account on their Switch Lite or their Switch. They're just not going to be able to play your games with that account. They would have to use your account.
Well, it's actually interesting. So we have a comment here from Andrew on YouTube, and they said the primary console can play on a different account than the other Switch plays on the primary console's account. Example, I own Smash Brothers under account Andrew, but I use Andrew 2 while my brother uses Andrew. Right? So it's different.
Okay.
It's essentially different profiles.
The primary system, any profile can play a game owned by anybody.
Correct.
Owned by... Okay, let me try that again. So, I have 5 different Laffer accounts, one for various regions. So, say I got a review copy from EU region. So, I am the primary on all accounts for my system. So that game can be played by any other account. But if I got another Switch and installed the same 5 accounts on that, I could only play that game on my EU version and not my American version.
Yes. Yeah. And Andrew's solution, that's a great workaround, and I had not thought about that. But Andrew's solution in this case would not work for someone who has multiple children. It would work playing 2-player.
One thing I was thinking of would be, again, this would work if you have a kid and an adult. Have the kid system own the games, and you as a parent only play, as the backup. That way the kids can then all play on, actually multiple kids can play on the same system in different profiles and still do it. But I don't trust my kids to do that. Even as adults, I wouldn't trust them to do that. So, you know, but I still treat the Switches like I treated my 3DS.
Can I ask this?
Everyone got their own system. Everyone got their own copy of the game. It's just easier for me to do it that way.
The person who's asking, and for myself as well, is that level of game sharing where like you buy it once and everybody then just has access to it willy-nilly? Is that going on any other system? Does Xbox do that? Does PlayStation do that?
iOS does it. I don't think the PlayStation or Xbox does it. No.
I don't think home consoles do that at all.
I think all three systems are about the same. Nintendo might do it a little bit more convoluted, but the capabilities are similar.
Right. And this has actually been something that's actually been in the pipeline a while, actually, even before the Switch Lite, right? The Switch Lite has escalated this kind of this opportunity, right? This was something that came out back when they did the update a while ago, but essentially, like if we review games, essentially, I could say, Marty, can I get your information? I can add your profile to my device. And if I can add Marty's profile to my device and get a sign off, I can then go into Marty's library and I can download any of the games that he has that allows us to play. I actually know that this is how one of the ways that GameXplain actually moves some of their games around for reviewers to try as well, is they've all signed into each other's accounts basically via their devices. So it's not something that's actually completely random. But I do think the Switch Lite has kind of escalated this for sure. The other thing I would say is that if this is something that potentially is going to be coming from Santa, it might be a great opportunity for Santa to have all that set up prior to the gifts being opened on Christmas Day as well, to ensure that all of those things are working and effective, because that would also not be fun.
Especially because Christmas is such a notorious time for two things to happen: huge amounts of sign-ins knocking servers offline, and jerks perpetrating DDoS attacks on servers that like take down PlayStation and Xbox Live for weeks. Which at both instances have happened. There's going to be a ton of people this Christmas getting an iPhone, getting a Switch, getting an Xbox. Take it out of the package and set it up beforehand. I know with a phone you can't really do that in the same way you could probably do a console, but at least try to get the updates done so that it's not a brick for 3 or 4 days while your kids are lamenting the worst Christmas ever because they can't play Pokemon.
And an advantage of that is if if for some reason the system is just faulty, you'll know this in advance and try to get it exchanged before Christmas, versus two out of 3 kids being able to play and the other one can't because the system's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
All right,
but that was a great excellent question. I wish we could share all of it because it was very in depth. But I get why we're tiptoeing around.
Yeah, there's some parents who are trying to be great parents and who also enjoy the shows, because it's a family show. Kids can be listening, and you don't want to be eavesdropping onto what Santa may or may not be getting for them. So thank you for that. And hopefully, and by the way, feel free to write us back. If we have answered your question, great. If you're like, wait a second, hold on. Can you provide me more clarity? Let us know, and we'll send you an email response as well. But I wanted to put that on the show because I think a lot of parents will be asking this question. Jacob Rush, I want to throw a question to you.
Yes.
This one came in through Twitter. Jacob, do you like streaming services? Do you like Netflix? Do you have Disney Plus?
We do have Disney Plus.
Just came out this week, right?
Yes.
Mikey Burgett asks, do you think
Mikey,
we'll see Disney Plus coming to the Nintendo Switch soon? And if so, what's the timeline do you think for that?
That's
Jacob, what do you think?
It's interesting. My gut says no, because we don't even have Netflix. And if we do have it, it's not going to be for quite a while. However, we have Hulu, and Hulu is owned by Disney. So I wonder if it's possible to get Disney Plus sooner than we've even had Netflix, simply because of Disney owning that, and it's on the Switch. So maybe there's a deal there with Disney that they have going. I would love it, because at the moment we have Disney Plus, but actually my smart TVs aren't so smart, and I can't get them to play them on there. So I'm going to have to buy like a Roku stick just to get it to stream on my televisions. So if I had on my Switch, problem solved. But
See,
I
my
have
TV updated not long ago because it is a smart TV as well. It's a Vizio, and now it actually acts as an AirPlay device for Apple products, and so I just AirPlay through my phone to the TV, which is really cool. We watched The Mandalorian last night that way.
Nice.
Which again, we've been able to squeeze out the internet over here like a fresh orange. And so
Yeah.
Disney Plus is a big hit at our house. Having a little connectivity issues, I'm not going to lie. But I think everybody is, right? I think a lot of people are having some frustration with it.
Oh yeah, especially
but it'll get better.
I saw all the messages day one, hour 4 or 5. Still can't log in.
I saw one guy that I'm friends with yesterday. He is a D23 member, and he bought the 3 years. They gave you some deal where you could get
wow.
a 3-year pass for some crazy price.
Weird.
And now he can't log in, and he spent 4 hours waiting for Disney to pick up the other day. He spent 4
wow.
hours on hold
Wow.
Dang.
and still can't log in to Disney Plus.
Ouch.
That's
Right.
nuts.
Yeah,
And he's like, I've already spent this. I'm not buying anything else. I'm not even getting the free.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I
So-
mean, it's a great question. I don't think we're going to see it at all on Nintendo Switch at this point. We've not seen Netflix. I'm with Jacob. It's not coming.
Jesse, what do you got?
Yeah, so right, in our upstairs TV, I have a Gen 3 Apple TV, which does not support newer apps, the newer channels that can be added. So there's like I watch Verve, that's not there. I watch DC Universe, that's not there. So we're for Black Friday, we're thinking about getting a new TV upstairs and behind me in my office, where I do have a Gen 4 Apple TV down here. But we're thinking about getting a Gen 4 for upstairs as well. Then we can add the new channels. And since we're getting 4K TVs, might as well get the 4K Apple TV.
Nice. Awesome. Good, great question.
Wow.
Thanks, Mikey, for that one, and thanks, Jacob, for tackling that. Jacob, I would be remiss if I didn't actually tell you that we had a comment in our Twitch chat from Mr. Sean Capri, and Sean asks, but you don't have to do it. I wonder if Jacob could give us a flex because he's a stud.
Flex.
That is straight from Mr. Capri himself.
I mean, I'm not wearing anything
There you go.
tight, but
There you go. It's good enough because it just makes
See
me,
there?
Marty, and Jesse feel very old, fat, and out of shape. So
You
That's
know-
thank you for that.
not doing anything.
Jacob being on the show has raised the dad bod level.
Sure.
It's like it's raised
Yeah.
the bar.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like now we're officially higher on the what kind of scale would that be? The bod scale,
oh
the
my.
dad scale.
Yeah, I think
I
I'm
like
gonna
the
be
scale.
real honest, gents. I think the three of us are still weighing that scale down. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying we're dragging him down?
Oh yeah, I think so. Like I think when he walks
Yeah,
out, he's gonna be like,
even
"Did I just get
though-
hairier and fatter?"
Even though
What happened? I was on the
I-
show for
I-
like 2 hours. I feel like I just ate a burrito.
Even though I've lost
Right,
almost
so-
80 pounds in the last
Jesse's
year, I
going
still have
down.
ways to go.
Yeah, you look great. You look fantastic, buddy. You really do. Not just saying that. Like you're looking svelte.
Yeah. Not that I plan on
will.
getting there, but I'm like 100 pounds away from where I was in high school.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
That's great, man. I used to be
Yeah.
a personal trainer for like 5 years, so to be
So
honest,
basically, that's code for everyone else on this show. I could whip your tail.
well,
It's
like,
gonna. I mean, like I'm
bust out
afraid
the-
of you, Jacob.
Bust
No.
out the
How about
protein
it?
shakes.
how about if you want advice, you can come talk to me anytime, and I'll be willing to help.
Sure. And
That's
the advice,
awesome.
the advice will just say this: get off your ass and do something.
Go by Ring Fit, right?
I was going to ask if you. I was going to
Stop
ask you if you
eating
played.
donuts.
So, I bought
I,
Ring Fit, but haven't played it yet. Have you played it?
I actually
Me?
have not played it
Okay.
yet. No, I don't. I don't even own it yet. I want to get it. It does look fun. It kind of makes me laugh when I hear people say like, "Oh, it's so hard," and I'm I'm sure it's hard, but like,
Just
I
you're
feel
out
like
of
it's
shape.
hard. Right, like I feel like it's hard for people who like maybe are not. I don't know. I go to the gym and lift like 4 to 5 times a week, so it's like I don't think it'll
Yeah,
be
you're
that
you're
hard.
probably not going to have a challenge, but a gentleman like me who goes to the fridge and lifts like every day, You know what I'm saying, Jacob? Right? Like, it's a bit challenging for a fellow like me.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I'd recommend it.
That's fun.
The only problem that I have, like the only lifting I do is like lifting donuts and getting them lodged in this region right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that too. That sounds good.
Jacob, we're getting closer to the end of the show.
Yeah.
We of course let's talk about you. Tell us about you, Jacob.
I like talking about me.
Those of us who don't know you, those are fans who don't know what you do, why you're here, why did we invite you on this podcast, all that kind of stuff. What's going on in your world?
Well, I got invited because I got my wife pregnant and officially became a Nintendo dad. So that was the pass to get on. Then I had a second kid, so that got me back on again.
That's a gold membership.
That's a gold membership right there. No, I actually I have my own podcast called Nintendo Nostalgia. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter, Nintendo_NOS there. But my co-host Ryan and I, we have another part-time co-host, Joshua Taylor and Tom Qualls, who help out the show. Our show is all about nostalgia. We focus on Nintendo's past. We'll talk about old games. We'll talk about like our original memories with them. So like we've actually been getting new listeners and people calling into our hotline, and we just had our 3rd anniversary. So we're actually about 100 episodes behind you guys. We're on like 152 this week. But it was really fun. For our birthday falls on Halloween, and we had people calling and telling us what they loved about our show and how they got connected. And it makes me happy because it's doing what we wanted. We wanted people to think back to the old days, because we were born out of the Wii U era, where Nintendo was honestly the laughing stock of the gaming world. And as a Nintendo hardcore fan, it bothered me. And I wanted to remind people that Nintendo is still that great company that we loved. And we focus on like those old games, those old systems when they launched. And we do fun episodes. Like this week's episode was all about old Nintendo commercials, like weird stuff. And we would review, like bring some commercials to the table and play the audio for everybody. And we just rewatch them on our end and talk about them. And it was fun. We do character spotlights of episodes, and some of our favorites is we do music episodes too, where we go back and select our favorite music, because that has a lot of nostalgia. So lots of different things. We try to keep it unique. We've done debate episodes where we actually talked about maybe doing a Pokemon debate episode because of all this stuff. But our first one was Mario Kart versus Diddy Kong Racing, which one was the better kart racer. And we like to invite other hosts from other shows to battle. And we did a trivia show earlier this year too, where Ryan and I actually lost to play some video games. Kevin and Caro, they beat us, and I'm ashamed of that. But it was fun. So we do that. Nintendo Nostalgia, again, follow us on Twitter, and you can find me, Jacob Nosh, Jacob73 on Twitter. You'll find me there a lot. And something new, I've been in endeavors. I used to be in a band for like 10 years. I had my own Christian pop punk band. I was one of the lead singers and rhythm guitarist, and music's always been a part of my life. Well, being married and whatnot, I'm not in my band anymore. But recently, I have started to. I decided I would love to compose video game music. The top 2 things I listen to is my favorite punk rock bands and video game music. So I decided, why not do that together? So I've been writing music constantly to just better myself as a musician. It's not all like rock. I try to write all styles, but I just launched a SoundCloud last week of I have maybe 13 tracks on it, and I have one that I'm about to release. But you can find me on SoundCloud just as Jacob Rush if you want to hear my music, and I'm sharing them on Twitter and Facebook, and just to go check them out, and hopefully I can get looked at by some indie devs one day and can write music for indie games. I am excited and trying to break into that scene. So I would love to make that my career one day, honestly, as I'm writing video game music for lots of games. So that's why I'm working out. Come check it out and share the stuff if you like it. So yeah, that's about me there.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And sorry, go ahead, Jesse.
So say post show, I'm gonna mention something that my son talked to me about earlier today that you might get a kick out of.
Sure.
Jacob,
Absolutely.
I'm going to throw in here that Nintendo Nostalgia is one of my favorite video game podcasts. Listen to it all the time, and I love you guys and what you're doing over there because very frequently your episodes bring back such good memories from my childhood. I've grown up with NES and Super NES, and even to an extent Nintendo 64, even though that was like later high school years for me, and even early college years. And so like I like, if you guys are out there listening and you've not gone and checked out Nintendo Nostalgia, do that. Make it a priority this week, going over there and hit up. And hey, there's even a Mega Man episode out there floating around that I'm on.
Yes.
And we talked way too long on that episode and didn't get to finish up. We got to have round 2.
We're going to. And Marty's actually going to come on here, and later this month, actually, we're going to talk Donkey Kong 64. We wanted Marty on strictly because we know how much he hates it. So I wanted a differing opinion here on looking back at a game that I have a lot of nostalgia for. So
I'm going to go on there and burn it down. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I tried. Yeah. I remember playing that with the Retro Rewind, and I rage quit really fast.
Oh, nice. Now, the other thing I would say is that Jacob is probably he's a very humble man from our time that we've spent together, and he probably would not say and would not gloat about it. But I do want to raise to your attention. Sometimes I think when people listen to the show, they're probably like, sure, Jacob's a friend of theirs. You've had, they know them, so they're just kind of we're pumping their tires a bit. You know what I'm saying? We're making them feel good. It's what we do with Bobby Pauls a lot. We just lie and make him feel good about himself. We believe his stuff is actually trash. But legitimately, Nintendo Nostalgia was named recently on a blog of one of the top 30 Nintendo podcasts to listen to. So congrats to you and your entire team. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. So again, not just our words, but actually an impartial, blog that pulled together these 30 top 30 Nintendo platforms. So podcast. So Nintendo Nostalgia was listed in there. So guys, make sure you go and subscribe, give them a listen, give them love. Again, for a podcast to be at 3 years, 150 episodes. Again, I think much like a lot of podcasts, you guys have definitely found that footing, found your maturity, found your voice, and are making absolutely solid content. So make sure you guys are doing that.
Thank you very much. And we also wrote to add real quick, too. We added our new co-host, Joshua Taylor, and he's kind of he's your Tim All for the group. We needed somebody to help run our social media. So Josh, since we've really been trying to gear up, just because life is hard for Ryan and I to just always check everything and we always be posting. Josh is able to post regularly, and he is throwing community game nights out there. We just did our first giveaway of Luigi's Mansion 3, and that was really fun, and it got us some more followers too. So we are definitely striving to be more active like you guys are. We look up to you guys and your community and what you're able to do with others, and we're trying to host another game night here in December. So come join us. We're having fun. We'd love to have you.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, lads, I think that is about it. I think it's getting pretty close too, eh? Marty, do you wanna take us out before your internet decides to kill you again?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Guys, we want to thank you for joining us for episode 254 of Nintendo Dads. And we want to say a huge thanks to our Patreon producers. That's Chris Mears, Dave Ernsberger, Andrew Collette, and Sean Abbott for helping make this show what it is. And also all of you who are supporters over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads. Or if you just listen to the show and you just like us and you think we're groovy and you're not part of Patreon yet, thanks just for listening. You can help the show grow by sharing it with a friend. Share it with somebody either on your social media or word of mouth. That works as well. You can even talk about our brand new website, nintendodads.org, where you can see all of our new YouTube videos, tweets, podcast episodes, links to our social media, our Patreon page, and the Nintendo Dads shop for Nintendo Dads merch. Hey guys, Christmas is coming up. A brand new Nintendo Dad shirt or sticker or even that awesome duvet cover that's on there. There's even Nintendo Dad's underwear. No, we didn't make that. They just put it out there. That if you buy that, we don't want pictures. You can also find us in most places like Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. Just type in Nintendo Dads and boom, there we are. We would love to interact with you there. You can email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or podcast@nintendodads.org. Both of those addresses work. And you can even call in and leave a voicemail at 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. We want to say a big thanks to OC Remix for the music used throughout the show. And also thanks to everyone who's done some awesome art for the show, like Adam Leonard, Carter Johnson, and others. Thank you for what you have done. And guys, again, thanks for listening to episode 254. Jacob Rush of Nintendo Nostalgia, thank you for being a guest this week. And for me and for Jesse and Justin, thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
Wobble Puffet? Wobble Buffet?
Hot